So where we left off last time in the last video is we were talking about these near money or quasi money. And we essentially said that near money or quasi money is an asset that can be readily transformed into money. It can be taken out of, say, savings accounts or shares of a money market, mutual funds, or a certificate of deposit. You can take these assets and transfer them into money with relative ease. So, the next thing we were talking about is these near monies are very few times are they ever used as a form of payment. So you're not going to take a CD, a certificate of deposit, and pay somebody with it. Generally what you do is you go and cash that certificate of deposit, or you cash these assets and change them into actual currency, and you pay with it that way. So, the next item we're going to talk about is an M2. We talked about M1. The M1 was the sum of coins, currency, deposits, or demand deposits, and traveler's checks. That was M1. So if you add M1 to M2, if you add M1 plus these near monies, you come up with this M2. The money supply is often determined by M1. What is the sum of those items that I previously just mentioned? But you add these near monies to it, those type of assets that can be changed into cash with relative ease, you actually develop the M2. And this is another form of measuring the money supply. So, in the United States, M1 is approximately 1/2 checkable deposits and 1/2 coin and currency in circulation. So, if we look at this slide right here, here's an example of the M1 in the United States, and it was adjusted in August of 2008. So there was $776 billion in currency. That's going to be your coins, your dollar bills, and those type of things. In your demand deposits, that's your checking accounts, there was $300 billion. There was $600 billion in traveler's checks. And in other checkable deposits, there was $309 billion. So approximately half of the M1 money supply was in these checkable deposits. The other half was in currency. And that totaled to be approximately 1,391 billion, or over 1.4, or right at 1.4 trillion dollars. So, what is M2? You take M1, which is equal to be this 1.4 trillion dollars. You add the money market mutual funds, because these are near monies. You add these other quasi money items, and you get which it totals out to be, and then you get these other, you get the time deposits, the money market mutual funds, other quasi money items. You add that all up, you get the M2 money supply total. Now, you can look at the difference between these two. The M1 money supply is approximately, or approximately a fourth of that of what the M2 money supply is. So, the next thing we're going to talk about is the velocity of money. The velocity of money is the speed with which money is turned over in an economy. So in recent years, the velocity of money in the United States has increased. It's increased due to debit cards, e-banking, and other sophisticated technologies that have been introduced into the banking system. So before, the velocity of money was often restricted by whenever you write a check, that money stayed floating around until somebody actually cashed that check. So whenever you wrote a check, say for $100, you could not use that $100 anymore until the next person, or that $100 was not used again until the next person actually cashed that check and spent it on something. And the time that it took between writing the check and cashing that check, that money could no longer be used. So it just was floating there. And that kind of slowed the velocity of money. But now, with the use of debit cards, e-banking, other sophisticated technologies, the transfer of money has become instantaneous. Whenever you swipe a debit card, funds are immediately withdrawn out of your account and set in another account already, to where as soon as those funds are transferred, the recipient can now take that same amount of money that was just transferred into their account and use it somewhere else. Meaning that this money is now being turned over faster. The velocity of money is now speeding up because there is no longer a wait time on waiting for a check to actually cashed. And this is also happening in e-banking, other sophisticated technologies that's allowing money to be readily available instantaneously. Although credit cards, they are commonly used as a form of payment, they are not part of the money supply. So debit cards, checks, traveler's checks, all of those are part of the money supply. But credit cards are not. Even though they are a form of payment, they are not a part of the money supply. Why is that? Because it gives the holder credit, gives them a loan in the amount of the purchase. But the card itself is not evidence of money or any deposits anywhere. You have a loan of this amount, whatever the purchase of that credit card was. It's a loan. It is credit on your account. But in no way does it say that because you made this purchase with a credit card that you actually have that amount of money deposited anywhere. That amount of money readily to cover the credit card debt. So there is no transfer of actual money there. There is a transfer of a loan. But there is no transfer of money. And as a result, credit cards are not part of the money supply. But debit cards are. Why? Because debit cards are nothing more than modern checks. Whenever you write a check, what happens? It sends money out of your account. You're basically telling somebody to take money out of your account and put it in somebody else's. What happens with the debit card? The same thing. You say, take money out of my checking account and place it into somebody else's account. So funds are transferred from your bank to someone else's account. A debit card is a claim against your demand deposits. And those deposits are part of the money supply. So a credit card is basically saying, a debit card, whenever you swipe a debit card, you're saying, I have this amount in my demand deposits and I am transferring them over to you. Demand deposits are part of the money supply. With the credit card, in no way are you saying, take money out of the demand deposits. It's saying, give me a loan on a certain amount of money, and then I will buy this with that particular loan, but I never say I actually have the money to repay it. It's in no way a guarantee that I have that actual amount of money in deposits anywhere. Money, like a commodity, is bought and sold on a daily basis. And the objective of this is to buy cheap and sell high.